Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel. I am continuing my videos just talking about this wonderful Kenmore 158.1941, and I've discovered as I was going through the machine after the last video where I was talking about making sure you clean, and there was just a little spot here of this one little area that we oiled very judiciously. Well, I noticed something with my flashlight as I was peering in to the side of the machine. I was doing this, and I saw something that looked odd, and it looked like this. It was, I looked at it, I thought, that's not a normal part of the machine. And sure enough, sticking out from, it had gotten wedged somehow. Basically, it got wedged. See if I can show you. It was wedged under here. Somehow it had gotten itself stuck and was sticking out over the belt. And, well, that something was a pin. Something as simple as a sewing pin, which, many of you commonly use, can really cause issues. And I would never have known it was here had I not accessed the side compartment. Now, underneath I had seen something, but it looked like perhaps part of a spring, but I wasn't used to seeing that. Now, if you're new to the machine, you might not know. As I started peering in, this is why it's nice to have a good flashlight at your disposal. Fortunately, it had this little red, tip on it. Sometimes they don't. And again, if something like this happens to your machine and you're not aware of it, the machine eventually will speak to you because it will be unhappy. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you all before I put the side panel back on. Wanted to kind of just, again, you just never know. And this is why it's a great thing to investigate a machine if it's new to you, just so you can have an idea. And so, what I'm going to do is just show you, I'm putting the panel on. I believe I may have demonstrated this before, but it's something I want to show again because it is quite important and people often forget. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to change the camera angle for you, and I want to show you how I'm installing this little panel. This panel, by the way, is, handle it with care. Why do I say that? Well, this panel is the side panel that you saw, and it is made of plastic. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because it's really not typically under a lot of stress and strain or any stress and strain. It's basically there to keep your hands away from the motor and the belts, and it keeps dust and dirt out, right? There's a little slot here that's going to cover over our power switch, which you see there. And this is when I showed you in one of the prior videos, you will see it has little metal, not plastic, at least they went, and they used metal for the little clips that go down into the base of the machine. You can see the little openings there, the little, I guess you'd call them cutouts or something. Now, some of you have machines, other brands, maybe this brand, where you've seen the Berninas often show this, where the plastic is yellowed. Now, if we look on the back, you'll see that the plastic was originally dyed with some sort of plastic pigment to help it match the color of the machine. And pretty much that worked quite well when they were new. But of course, plastic, the paint has held up quite well, but plastic is vulnerable to sunlight, ultraviolet light, and that's why, for example, if I show you the top, this portion of the cover, look at the difference in color. You see that? This color, I can't see my own finger to show. This color that you see on the top, that is the original color. And the reason it's yellowed on the outside is because this top edge that I just showed you, it's covered by the cover, okay? So the ultraviolet light hasn't really been able to get to it except on the outer ridge. And the rest of it was, basically in the dark for a half century. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. This is purely aesthetic. Now, some people really like to get rid of the yellowed plastic. They don't like the look of it. It doesn't affect the machine at all. The machine doesn't care. Some people do, and I understand why. Aesthetics do matter. However, I would suggest to you, this is your choice. There are methods online you can research. I don't personally take away the yellowing, and the reason is First, it is a vintage machine, and whenever you apply any chemical process to remove the yellowing, inherently you have the potential, I'm not a plastic chemist, but you have the potential to weaken the plastic because you're using something you're basically having to remove some of the resin in the plastic in order to get that yellowed out. You're removing something, right? It's like when you have your teeth polished, I guess. It's kind of a strange metaphor or analogy, but that's the best I've got right now. So I'm going to leave mine. I've cleaned it. I've cleaned the plastic. It's nice and clean, and it is yellow, and that is just, that's the way I'm leaving it. I would rather have the plastic stay strong as long as possible. And again, this is a theory. I don't have any data to show you, by whitening this yellow portion, is it really going to hurt anything? I really don't know. But my gut instinct tells me that the resin in plastic, which is, not as stable over long periods of time, as is, say, steel or even the paint that's on this. This is actually an aluminum body. But when you have something like plastic, again, we know that it has a certain lifespan, and I want to keep it as long as possible. So again, no harsh cleaners. I just used a little dishwasher soap and water, cleaned it off, and now I'm going to reinstall it for you. So this one is fairly easy to do. You see the two little metal prongs, right? So just line them up. It's easy to do, right? Now notice it can move to the side to side. Just find a place sort of centered and gently come up. And then I need to shift my angle just a bit here because my camera is I don't think I can get it all in there. And then as I come up, if you need to shift a bit to make sure that this clears the hand wheel, and it's doing that, right? And then I'm just simply going to bring it up and then sort of hold it. Now you have to, first of all, you want to make sure, you heard a little click there. I know that the bottom is nice in its place because it feels pretty decently snug and solid. There is some wiggle space. You want that. Now, let's get the camera closer. I'm going to show you, and I think I've done this before, but it is so easy for someone to forget. And if they do, well, let's just say that you can end up having a bad day if you don't do this properly. Any of you who have ever dealt with anything made of plastic, you may have had one of those moments when you really were disappointed because the plastic snapped on you, or it cracked, or it broke because you forced it. And this can happen on lots of new products, right? It can happen on anything new made of plastic. And it is especially true with older plastic. Plastic will become more brittle as it ages. And when that happens, you need to be extra careful with it. So again, this is not, it's not rocket science here. It's not hard to do. Just do it with intention. Know that you are doing something and you're handling it with care. I think that's the old expression, handle with care. So let me find one of my screwdriver tips here. Something I try to think that, no, that's not the right one. So I'm going to take my screws. Now remember, just as when we were taking these screws out, we're going to have the same issue putting them back in. There's a little place for it to go, but it's short. It's not like a long screw you can hold and go ahead and get threaded. This is short and stubby. And with my big finger and thumb here, I could easily try to thread it just with my thumb and forefinger. And again, you've got two hands and the panel just wanted to come out, so I'm going to put it back on. Now, by the way, while I'm thinking of this, notice that when you put the panel on, I'm glad this actually came off so I can show you this. When you are trying to line this up, you've got the opening for the hand wheel. You've got the little side metal pieces that go down in these slots. But remember, if this thing is fighting you, you say, well, I've got it around the hand wheel. Why is it fighting me? Well, because down here, you haven't lined up the power switch, right? It's a little more narrow. So get the power switch lined up, and you should be okay. And then gently push it toward the side. So, all right, well, that was a happy happy little accident there with the panel coming off. It reminded me to share something with you. Now, back to where I was. What was I saying before? Let's go back and get the camera closer. Now, what I'm going to do here, in fact, I'm going to take this flashlight off because it's like a searchlight in Hollywood or something. Maybe more distracting than helpful. What am I going to do? I am actually going to do the reverse of what I did when I took it off. What do I want? I want my trusty magnet. Where is it gone? Here it is. This, of course, is one of my tools. This is a telescoping magnet. It it can stretch. I think I bought it at a car parts store because if working on my car, sometimes I drop things. Anyway, this is what I want to do with it. I want to take my screw and I want to put it on that magnet like that. Okay. Now, notice where the screw hole is. So maybe I can get a little bit closer for you guys. Let me get this. I'm going to get my camera even closer because I'm trying to get you directly as close as possible above this area here where I'm going to be screwing in the screws. All right. So now I have my screw on the end of this little magnet. This magnet cost me like $5 or something. It's not anything serious investment here. But you can see now I can take it and I can take this and I'm going to very slowly just turn it. Right? I'm not using my screwdriver tip yet. Now what is this doing? I'm hoping that this is going to get this screw threaded at least to begin. But I want to make sure, so let's see what we've got here. Yeah, it actually went. Now it's not done yet, and I'm going to finish it with my screwdriver tip. Again, you can sort of freestyle this with your fingers if you want to. But again, if a screw falls down and it gets trapped somewhere, now you're trying to get someone to help you turn the machine upside down. It gets to be a bit of a circus, and there are enough happy accidents that happen with this little hobby of ours. So again, I'm going to do the other one the same way. You may have a better method for this, but this is something I found this to be a very useful tool, even though I purchased it for to work on my car. All right, so now you can see the other one. Now, if this screw fights you, remember when you're doing this, if this panel starts to move away, you can see it can actually move away, and the little opening on the plastic panel will not be lined up with the screw hole in the chassis of the machine. So, if you have someone else holding a flashlight or you have one on your head like I do, that can help. I have some daylight here. So again, I've got my screw on this magnet. I'm going to put it in the hole, and it should, again, just make sure that this panel, just hold it. You're not having to push it like for, just hold the panel. No pressure, really, just hold it. And I'm just going to turn to the right and see if this screw would like to behave and go down and start threading. Now, if it doesn't, then you'll notice the height of the screw will be the same. Be careful, because if you pull your magnet away and the screw's not threaded enough, you can end up with. And now, when I take the magnet off the screw, I'm going to put my fingernail, hold the screw down, and pull the magnet. So the magnet doesn't, pull the screw out. It shouldn't, but, again. So now all that's left for me to do, I'm going to take my screwdriver bit. And by the way, you could also drop that down in there. So let's just be extra careful. Let's take the screwdriver. And you may have a screwdriver. You may not have bits, right? I use the bits because they are less likely to strip the screws. So now I have something even less likely, hopefully, to go falling down into the machine, because this big bulky thing, it should be okay. And now what am I doing? The first thing I'm going to do is start to slowly, and you'll know if it's not threaded right because it'll fight you, right? It should turn nice and smooth. If yours doesn't, you need to stop, because you will cross thread your screw and you'll have a whole other set of issues. So I'm just gently doing that, but I'm not going all the way. Now I'm going to come over here. Remember, when you have something that has got multiple attachments, tighten each side a little at the time. If you have 3, 4, 5, kind of hop around. This idea prevents things from being warped and twisted in a way that can damage them. Now, when I go to turn this, as soon as it gets snug, it's going to want to stop by itself. I don't have to tell it. All right, I'm turning, and it just got snug. I got resistance. It's sort of like when you're closing something that has a clasp. And when that happens, you stop. Do not over tighten this. Some people are tempted, oh, I don't want this to come off, and they'll wrench it down. You will break the plastic, and then you will have a part that does not attach, and you will lose the side of your machine. And it's not necessary. This plastic is a half-century old, and it's doing just fine because I'm being respectful to it, right? So I'm going to do this side as well. And it's, was it taking it there? And as soon as it says I'm done, respect the screw. Don't argue with it. Just be still. It shouldn't come off, okay? Because it's, what was it like? I don't know, 1/4 of an inch of threads. That should be plenty. If it was very loose, it could, and you would notice it because you could literally just gently, if I take my fingers and go to wiggle the side, if it was to wiggle, it would be loose, and it's not. And that's it. I know that sounds so obvious. You might think, well, gosh, why are you making a video about attaching a side panel? Because there are a lot of broken pieces out there because people were not sure how to attach it, or they were in a hurry, or they thought they were in a fight with the machine. And if you do that, you will likely lose. So again, word to the wise. We now have a clean side panel on our Kenmore, and this little surprise that I didn't know was there, I managed to find it, right? So being a detective sometime can be, the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.